going on, YouTube? It's been a minute. So, obviously you clicked on the title of this video. You clicked on this video because of the title. So, why I'm not at LANDSTAR anymore? Did I get fired? Did I quit? Where the hell have I been? Answer all those questions right now. So, in my last video that I posted about trucking was titled "My Last Ride in the Wasatch Freightliner Cascadia," or something like that. Yes, that was my last trip in that truck. I talked about it in a previous video. I had purchased a hotshot setup and was supposed to hire some team drivers or a driver to drive my Freightliner, and LANDSTAR just made that just such a pain in the ass process. Like, every person that I got that applied, there was some kind of issue that LANDSTAR wouldn't let them come on board. Not unless they had their own truck, is what it seemed like. Like, I had this one guy that applied. He had 10 years experience, current DOT physical, no accidents, no nothing on his record, but he had a felony charge for something minor, like something stupid that happened. I think it was like 5 years prior or something like that. So and it wasn't even anything like theft or nothing like that. It had something to do with child support or something. I don't remember the exact thing, but it was like, it was a stupid felony, and that as soon as he finished probation, whatever, that it was going to get dropped to a misdemeanor. But whatever, that was like the first driver. Then I had a team, a couple of guys that I knew from back when I was at Swift that, you know, I follow them on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and they're out there crushing it as a team at Swift. You know, obviously not making a whole lot of money, but I got both of them to agree to come and drive for me in my truck at LANDSTAR. I even had it set up with one of the LANDSTAR brokers that had the FedEx freight, and they were literally just going to run FedEx loads back and forth and set up easy. Don't have to mess with the load board, basically like a dedicated lane almost. And one of them got approved to come on to LANDSTAR. The other one had a quote unquote preventable, and he even showed me the dash cam footage that he obtained from Swift of the preventable accident. What it was is, he was sitting in the driver's seat of the truck, and he was parked in a parking space at a truck stop, key on, truck running, ready to take off. He was waiting for his teammate to come back from his shower, and a truck was backing into the space next to him, and that truck hit the Swift truck and tore up the headlight and the hood and caused damage to the Swift truck. Okay, obviously not his fault, but Swift, being Swift, considered it a preventable accident because he was sitting in the driver's seat, and he could have prevented that accident from happening by honking or whatever bullshit excuse that Swift gave for putting it on his record as it being a preventable. And so LANDSTAR wouldn't let him come on because of that. He had 4 or 5 years accident free, no tickets, and just that one preventable, and so he couldn't come on. So literally, I'm just, at this point, I had a couple other guys that apply that they had legitimate issues why they couldn't come on to LANDSTAR. But LANDSTAR basically just made the process like nearly impossible. Like, you had to find like a perfect, squeaky clean freaking driver that doesn't have his own truck to come drive your truck, because essentially he's still a company driver. He's driving for me. And so that became a hassle. Then I found out that LANDSTAR does training, like, so basically someone could be on my truck with me and as long as they have their CDL, and I can train them. So that sounded like a great idea. I'm like, oh, okay, like that's cool. Something I didn't know that. I think it's something new that they're doing. So my father-in-law was interested. So he went to trucking school, got his CDL. We started the process, and then come to find out that it's an unpaid training. Like you can't. They have to. We can't run as a team. They have to be on my truck with me, learning, driving, and I still have to pay that person out of my pocket. There's no, we can't run as a team to make it, worth it. So essentially I would have had my father-in-law on my truck with me, and it has to be for 1 year, a whole year, not receiving a paycheck, or I would have to pay him out of the loads that I'm doing, and I don't receive a paycheck. And around this time is, 2018, the trucking industry is going down. Freight rates are down, load counts are down. So literally, like, there was no way that I could make that happen. So I ended up getting rid of the truck. A buddy of mine who was a LANDSTAR BCO, who was doing the hotshot thing, wanted to step up and go into a big rig. And so I'm bleeding money at this time, paying, the Freightliner payment, plus paying to use LANDSTAR's trailer, plus paying my truck payment for the hotshot, plus paying my trailer payment for the hotshot. So I let him let that guy take over the lease on my Freightliner. Worked it out with Wasatch, and he took over the truck. So in that video at the end, you see somebody driving away in the truck. That's him. So he had all his ducks in a row, and LANDSTAR said, "Oh, you can't run that big rig over here because you don't have enough truck driving experience, recent truck driving experience." He had been a hotshot BCO with LANDSTAR for over a year. And then before that, he did 3 years at various companies in a big rig. But because for over a year he had been doing the hotshot thing, they said that he didn't have enough recent tractor trailer experience to lease the truck onto LANDSTAR. After he had already started the whole process, talked to them, got the truck, and then at the last minute they basically screwed him over too. So he bounced out, went to a different company that let him lease that truck on, and then I believe he sold his hotshot or found a driver for his hotshot or something. But so then I was running the hotshot. So I ran the hotshot with LANDSTAR for 6 months, I think, 5 months, maybe less than that. And it was just bullshit after bullshit after bullshit with the brokers, with LANDSTAR, constantly getting put in and out of service for the dumbest shit. So backtrack to when I was still in the big rig. As soon as I finished orientation, I had to deadhead, unpaid. They paid for the fuel, but I had to deadhead unpaid 800 miles to go grab an empty trailer. So I deadhead all the way out there, and the empty trailer that they sent me to get has flat tires. Looks like it's been sitting in this drop yard for years. It's covered in dirt, flat tires, dry rotted out tires, expired freaking inspection, and there's no license plate on it. It was like a clapped out janky ass trailer. So I contact LANDSTAR, and LANDSTAR goes, "Oh yeah, that trailer's getting put out of service. It's too old. We're not going to use it anymore." So why the fuck did I get deadheaded 800 miles to come get this trailer then? They're like, "Oh, somebody messed up." So then I sat for a day waiting for them to assign me another trailer, because you can't just go to anywhere that has trailers and just grab a trailer when you get out of orientation. They have to assign you one, and you have to go get it wherever it's at. So I sat for a day, and then there's another way to get a trailer. It's called an SOS load. So I ended up finding an SOS load that was 375 miles away. Driver was in an accident, truck was totaled, trailer was fine. Somebody cut him off, and he swerved to avoid them and hit the guardrail or something. Something happened. Front side of his truck was all smashed in. Wheel was ripped off in the front. So I get this SOS load. I fucking deadhead there, get this SOS load, and then I get the load and I take it. So first of all, I hook up to it, and it's like the gauge on my dash, like around 60, is you're right at the weight limit. This thing was pinging at like 80 on the suspension pressure gauge. So I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? This load is definitely overweight. So I drive, an hour to the closest cat scale, and I scale it, and sure enough, the load shifted. There were giant rolls of paper. The load shifted, and all the rolls of paper slid to the front of the trailer. So then I had to call LANDSTAR, and LANDSTAR let me sit there for a whole day before they found a place that could rework the load. And I had to drive another 100 miles to this wrecking yard place that had a forklift for them to rework the load. So basically, like, just burning money right off the bat as soon as I got onto LANDSTAR. Get the load reworked, get to the delivery location a whole day late, and they don't want to take the load because it's late. So LANDSTAR contacts them, does whatever. I'm sitting there for hours. They get the load, they get them to accept the load. So I get a dock, I back up to the dock. They rejected half the load because the paper rolls were destroyed. Okay, not their fault, the load was destroyed. So then I had to go find a place to go dump these giant rolls of paper, which took a whole nother day. So that was like shit show right off the bat. Like that was like completely unnecessary. And then over time, over the year of being in a BCO, there was a lot of bullshit. Excuse me. There was an instance where you have to do these inspections, I believe every 90 days or 60 days or whatever, the LANDSTAR inspections. So I get the inspection done at a TA, because they do them at certain places. So I get the inspection done at the TA, and I submit all the paperwork, or well, they submit the paperwork to LANDSTAR, and you're good to go. Like, you don't have to do nothing, done. So I was under a load when I got that done, and I got it done, I think in Amarillo, Texas, or something like that, the TA, the Petro. And I get the load delivered, and it delivered in like North Carolina or something. So, a couple days. I get on the load board, and I find a load, a good paying load. And keep in mind, this is 2018, this is when loads were low and the rates were down. Find this really good load going back to California, paying $2 and something cents a mile, North Carolina all the way back to California. I have enough time to squeeze in a 34-hour reset and then go. So I call the broker. The broker's like, yeah, this is a hot load. I got a lot of people calling on it. He's like, how close are you to this load? And I was only like 10 miles away. So he was like, all right, you're the closest driver to this load. The trailer's already preloaded, ready to go now. He's also, I'm going to give you the load because you're the closest. I'm like, all right, sweet. I'm going to send you the confirmation to your email. You'll be good to go, blah, 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 blah. So like an hour or so passes. I don't get the confirmation to my email. So I call him back and I go, hey, what's going on? Like, you said you're going to send that email. He was like, oh, yeah, your truck's on hold. I'm like, what do you mean my truck's on hold? Yeah, you got to contact LANDSTAR and figure out why your truck's on hold. I'm like, what the hell? Okay, so I call LANDSTAR, and the person at LANDSTAR goes, oh, yeah, your truck's on hold because you got your inspection done, but the person over there didn't sign the paperwork. And I'm like, okay, so why is that my fault? Why am I getting put on hold? Why can't you guys just contact that TA Petro and have them resend it with it signed? And they were like, oh, well, we don't know which one you got it done at, so you have to call them. Okay, so why am I finding out about this through a broker? Why didn't anyone call me? So I end up having to get that issue fixed, contacted that TA. The tech that worked on my inspection was actually there when I called. So he was like, oh, my bad. Got the paperwork re-signed, sent it back to LANDSTAR, got taken off a hold, missed out on that load. So that was a shitty situation that really pissed me off. Then I get another load that I don't remember where it went, but it wasn't as good. I think I went to like Indiana or something. Got to Indiana, delivered my load, found another decent load. I think it was going to Arizona, and I wanted to go home, so I was just going to deadhead home from Arizona. Well, there's some guys working on the parking space, painting the lines and shit. I might have to move here in a minute. So I call to get that load, and the broker, as I'm on the phone with the broker, he goes, "Oh, your truck's on hold. I can't give you this load." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So again, and now at this point, I'm heated. So I call Landstar, and I get a hold of a different person, obviously, because every time you call them, unless you call your direct like representative, the person that's assigned to you, which that person never answers their phone, and it gets forwarded to somebody else. I get a hold of somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, your truck's on hold because where you got your inspection done, they didn't sign the paper." And I'm like, "No, I got that taken care of already. Look it up. It should be in the system. I already got put on hold and taken off a hold for that." And they're like, "Yeah, we're not seeing anything on our side. You're gonna have to find out who you spoke to or call that truck stop back and get the paperwork re-signed." And I'm all, "I already did that." So it was a hassle. It took hours. At this point, it was after hours, so I couldn't even get a load. The next morning, get a hold of somebody that figures out the whole situation, takes my truck off of hold, and I finally get another load. So time goes by, a couple loads. This guy's probably gonna ask me to move my truck right now. You guys need me to move? Am I in your way?
No, you're good, man.
All right, so time goes by. Don't get me wrong. I made really good money at Landstar. Really good money. Even with the $600 a week truck payment, I was still taking home 2-3 grand until 2008 hit, like the end of 2008, when that number got cut in half. I was basically, after all my expenses, making company driver money, but I was still staying afloat. It sucked, but it was gonna pass. It was what I was hoping. And that's when, around the time when, right before that went down, is when I got the hotshot set up. So even paying the hotshot truck and trailer and doing the lease or whatever for the Freightliner and paying the payments for using the Landstar trailers. But I had another incident where I went to pick up this load. I believe it was in Illinois. And when I got the load and I agreed to take the load, it was supposed to be 10,000 pounds. And the load, keep in mind, 2008, loads are shit. The load was paying shit, but it was going to get me to an area where there was a lot of good loads. So basically, I was just taking this load so I didn't have to deadhead. So basically making no money off this load, but it was light, 10,000 pounds, whatever. So cool. Everything in the email, everything says the load is 10,000 pounds. So I get to the shipper. The shipper kind of screws me because I get there, it was a window. It was like 8 a.m. to noon. And I got there at 7 a.m. They didn't start loading me until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I spent the whole day sitting there burning, money, essentially. And as they're loading me, I'm watching the gauge on the dash, and the gauge is getting closer and closer and closer to 60, which is, 80,000 pounds. Total gross, obviously, not the load 80,000 pounds. But so when they finally finish loading me, I get the green light, I go inside and I get the paper, and the paper, it was like 40 something thousand pounds or whatever. And I was like, "Yo, this load is only supposed to be 10,000 pounds." And they're like, "No, it's not. We don't ever have loads that light." And so I'm like, "Yo, what the heck?" They're like, "Go." I told them I was going to go call the broker, find out what's going on. Of course, the broker won't answer their phone. So I call Landstar, and Landstar goes, "Okay, well, in order to figure out this situation, we need you to scale the load because we need to know the exact weight so that we can dispute it with the customer. So go to the closest truck stop and get weighed, because this place didn't have an on-site scale." So I go back inside. I have to sign the bills, obviously, to leave with the load. Sign the bills, go to the closest truck stop, scale it out. Sure enough, not only is it super heavy, but it's overweight by like 7,000 pounds. So I had to go back, and they at this point, the broker finally calls me back, And I explained to them the situation that's going on. He's like, oh, okay, I'll talk to the customer and see if we can get some an additional pay because the load's only supposed to be 10,000 pounds. So I'm like, all right, cool. They take off some of the load, but they only take off enough so that it's legal. And then they try to send me on my way. And I'm like, oh, hold on. The broker is supposed to be contacting you guys because this load's only supposed to be 10,000 pounds. And again, the guy explains to me, we don't ever have loads that light. They're always heavy, blah, 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 blah. So I'm sitting there. At this point, I'm burning down my clock. The closest truck stop's like an hour away, where I had to go get scaled and then come back. And the broker's not answering. It's now after hours, so nobody at LANDSTAR is answering. I finally get a hold of somebody at LANDSTAR, and they're like, okay, well, it's after hours, that broker agency's closed. There's nothing we can do. So just stay there overnight, because this place had overnight parking. Stay there overnight, we'll get it figured out in the morning. I said, okay, well, you understand if I do that, this load's going to be late, because the load had just enough time to get there, and already at this point, I'm going to be pushing it. So if I sit till the next morning, it's going to be late. And they're like, it's okay, we'll get it figured out, we'll get a later delivery date, blah, 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 blah. So I get to the next morning, I get a hold of the broker, and the broker goes, no, the customer's not willing to take any off. I guess there was a miscommunication with the amount of the weight and blah, 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 blah. You know, basically bullshitting me. I'm sure he knew the whole time that it was a heavy load, because they have already told me that they only have heavy loads. And this broker had like 7 of these loads listed coming out of this place, going to miscellaneous places. And they're all listed at 10,000 pounds, 11,000 pounds, 12,000 pounds. So it was bullshit, essentially. And they're saying, well, because you left with the load, they're not willing to take any of it back. And I told him, I was like, well, I don't want to haul this load then, because I'm not going to make no money. And then you're not going to pay me any money, because the broker's refusing to add even a additional fuel surcharge just to compensate the difference for the weight. Broker's not willing to work with me. So I call LANDSTAR, and LANDSTAR is basically treating me like I'm the problem, and that if I don't take this load, it's going to be a refusal of a load, and that I could get suspended and blah, 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 blah. It's basically forcing me to take this damn load. So I'm like, you know what, whatever, take the load, get screwed, because I end up coming out of pocket to get it there, because like I said, it wasn't paying nothing. I just wanted this load instead of deadheading. So that was problem number 3. And then on top of that, all the problems I had with them trying to get a driver and them not approving any of the drivers. And then the last straw was I went home. You know, I got that load delivered, got another load that got me home. That was another shit load, because there was nothing good on the board. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to wait it out. You know, it's the end of 2018. I'm going to wait it out a couple of weeks. This is around the time when I'm trying to find the drivers. I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to stay home for a couple of weeks. I got enough in savings that I can afford to pay the truck while I sit at home. Well, I guess LANDSTAR assumed that I had quit or something, because they put my truck on hold because I was at home. And nobody ever tried to call me. My person assigned to me, nothing. Nobody tried to call me. So when I came back out, I tried to book a load, and they're like, oh, your truck is on hold. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I get a hold of LANDSTAR, and they're like, oh, yeah, like, you've been home for a week and a half, and we didn't know what was going on with you. So we had to put your truck on hold because we didn't know what was going on. And I'm like, I'm not allowed to take a week and a half off. I'm an owner-operator. Like, all this micromanaging and all this bullshit, like, I feel like I'm a company driver. Like, it's ridiculous. My truck, and I didn't even have one of their trailers with me. When I went to that place that I delivered to, it's a local place that had Harbor Freight loads, and I dropped my empty there. I took the load near there, then I went over to this place that has Harbor Freight loads, because I've hauled a bunch of their loads for them already. I called that broker. The broker was like, yeah, drop your empty, and then when you're ready to come back out from home, call me. She's like, I'll have a load for you. They always have loads. So I'm like, all right, cool. I dropped the LANDSTAR trailer over there. I even let them know that the trailer was there, and I just took the truck home. So when I came back out, I called that broker to get one of those Harbor Freight loads, and the broker's like, oh, your truck's on hold. So long story short, because this video is already 24 minutes long, too much micromanaging, not getting treated like an owner operator, not getting the respect. The brokers that are at LANDSTAR are LANDSTAR brokers. There's occasional outside brokers that have authority to post on LANDSTAR load board, but for the most part, they're all LANDSTAR agencies and LANDSTAR brokers. We're supposed to be on the same team, essentially. I know that's not really how it works, but you would think being leased onto LANDSTAR and LANDSTAR having their own brokers, that you wouldn't have to fight brokers and have to deal with broker issues. But LANDSTAR don't give a shit. LANDSTAR lets their brokers do whatever the fuck they want. I came across so many brokers at LANDSTAR that were shady and grimy. I have in my old phone that I had when I was there, I have a freaking list of LANDSTAR broker, JHL, or whatever the abbreviations are. Don't answer, don't take loads, they lied. I had a broker, I booked a load that I was up in Washington. I booked a load that was 2 days out because I needed a 34-hour reset and I wanted to explore. I was near Seattle. I had a friend that lived in Tacoma that he would always used to send me pictures of the area, and so I wanted to explore the area. So I booked this load that was 2 days out. I got the confirmation in the email and everything. Never heard from the broker. He never tried to call me to tell me that the load canceled. So I have the rate con, everything in my email. So I go do my 34, do some exploring, go show up at the place to pick up this load, and they're like, the people there told me, oh, this load was already picked up. So I'm like, what the heck? So I call the broker, and the broker flat out tries to lie to me. Oh, this load canceled. Okay, well, and I played dumb. I was like, if it canceled, how come nobody notified me? He was like, oh, I'm so sorry, we should have called you, or we should have sent you an email. And I said, well, that's funny because I'm here at the shipper, and the shipper told me that somebody already picked that load up, that it didn't cancel. And he just backpedaled and bullshitted. And he's like, oh no, we have multiple loads, they're probably thinking it's a different load, blah, 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 blah. I had situations similar to that happen all the time over there. It's like the whole reason I came to LANDSTAR instead of getting authority right off the bat and going on the spot market is because I assumed that being at LANDSTAR, the brokers and you are on the same team. So yeah, I know you got to haggle and blah, 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 because they need to make their money too. But to get lied to and get bullshitted and then to get treated like shit from the brokers and by LANDSTAR, like that was the final straw. All that bullshit added up, and yeah, the money was good for a while, but I gave up. I found a guy that take the Freightliner, and then I ran the hot shot. And then even running at with the hot shot, they have a section on the load board for less than load or hot shot stuff. And I would call on these loads that they posted in that section, and they'd be like, oh, no hot shots. Or I would call a load, I have a 40-foot gooseneck trailer. The load is, 10,000 pounds, and it's well within the dimensions of my trailer. And I called they don't need dock height trailer to pick up or deliver, but they won't let me take the load because I'm a hotshot. So literally, like, being a hotshot at LANDSTAR was even worse of a hassle than being a big rig driver, tractor trailer driver at LANDSTAR. So I made the decision to just bounce out. I took the hot shot and I dipped. And then to top this off, I found a hot shot company that was gonna lease me on with them. And on my fucking DAC report, because when I finally quit at LANDSTAR with the hot shot, I just called my representative, or I forget what they call them, but the person that's assigned to you. I called them and said, and of course, again, she never answers, so left her a voicemail saying that I was terminating my contract, I was headed home, that I would mail back their plates and all their permit book and all that stuff, which I did. But they put on my DAC report that I quit without notification, or like I terminated my contract without notification, and that I never returned their plates and permit book. Basically, it's not like abandoning a truck, but it looks really bad on your report. So this hotshot company that was going to lease me on couldn't lease me on because that was on my report. So I ended up finding a local tow truck repo job with a buddy of mine, and I did that for a year. And then I went to Melton when I came back out on the road, which that'll be another video, but ooh wee. Melton, I'll make a video on it. And then now I'm at another company, and freight's low right now. This COVID-19 shit's fucking with everybody, but I'm still running. My wheels are still rolling. Like, I'm running on recaps as we speak. So pay's not that great, but they treat me well. The equipment's great. It's a fucking 2020 Freightliner Cascadia. It's got 200,000 miles on it. It was a team truck for the first half of this year, first few months of this year. So obviously it's a 2020, so they got it at the end of last year. So last year, the beginning of this year, they put 200,000 miles on it. I'm already on the list to get a brand new truck, which they got brand new Peterbilts and brand new T680s on the lot. They just can't get plates and stuff for them because all the crap that's going on. But I'm already on because I'm running so hard, and I'm talking to them about being a trainer. I'm already on the list for a brand new truck. So a brand new truck will be coming soon, because I got used to that T680 mid-roof that I had over at Melton. And I really like those trucks. So I hope I get one of those or a Peterbilt. But I'm going to end this video here. Long story short, I quit LANDSTAR because of the micromanaging, the lies, and the bullshit. Now, don't get me wrong. LANDSTAR is a really good company to get your feet wet in the owner-operator gang, being on a load board. But if I would do it all over again, I would just get my own authority and just get out there on the spot market, because LANDSTAR ain't much better. But all right, y'all, and thanks for watching the video. Like, subscribe, comment if you got some questions or anything. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. I'll have more videos coming out because I'm back out here on the road. But thanks for watching.